Hello, 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 and welcome. I am beyond excited to be here today. My guest, Shelley Astrof, as I told her, is literally one of my favorite people in the whole wide world. And you're going to feel that way by the end of this conversation, too. Shelley and I met, probably about 2 years ago, kind of looped into this same wonderful community of healers and helpers. And we just, I don't know, I felt like a soul connection with Shelley. And I'm sure a lot of people feel that way because if you can't feel it yet, you're going to feel the joy that she radiates off of her and the peace and the grace, and you just want some of it. So she's going to talk to us today about nowhere meditation and how to have some more peace in life. And never have we ever needed that so much, Shelley. So welcome.
It's so nice to be here, Kelly. Thank you so much. I'm really excited and delighted.
Yes. And I want to just dive into a conversation with you. I'm going to pop Shelley's bio into the show notes and all the places that you can find her and connect with her because you're going to want to. Shelley is actually streaming from India. So she's having a lovely evening while I'm having a lovely morning. And I think this is one of the major blessings of this time, that even in the time of quarantine and, being more in our homes and unable to travel, we have been able to connect with people literally across the globe. And that is one of my favorite rainbow moments from the past couple of years. Do you feel the same way, Shelley?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've met so many amazing people. And it doesn't matter that I'm on the other side of the planet, sitting in the high Himalayas. And people listening, they're listening all over the planet as well. So we got it covered.
We do. We literally have it covered, right? It's like a whole beautiful network of love and healing vibes. So, you're here today, and I told Shelley from the beginning, I said you're gonna have to come back because there's no way we're gonna cover everything in one episode. So today we're gonna focus primarily on knower meditation. But you know, in addition to Shelley's wonderful work with adults, she has also done some beautiful work with children, which I told her, I said, you know what? I think I'm going to have a couple months of episodes that are primarily focused on using some of these tools as parents with your children. So that's something as a mom that I feel very strongly is super important. But I want you to take us back to the beginning. So you're from Canada. So
Yeah.
how did you find yourself in India?
Um, well, I started as a teacher. I was an elementary school teacher. And I remember it was in the 70s, just letting you know. And my husband was in graduate school and he came home one day and he said, I saw a sign on the university wall and it said, improve your marks, learn to meditate. And I was teaching in an inner city in school in Montreal. And I thought, I mean, meditation, I didn't really know anything about it. You just kind of know how to spell it at that point. And and I remember I asked our principal and school psychologist if I could try this with the children because I thought, let's give it, if it can work for adults, why not children? And we did an experiment and we meditated with the children 3 times a week. And the school psychologist um, charted the progress of the children. And to make a very long story short, at the end of that first year, the class, which usually they were very um, underachieving in, I taught a grade 2, they were on par with the school board curriculum because we did a school board test on them. So they actually raised their marks. And I didn't really know too much about it, but we were watching as that year progressed. On the days we meditated, after we meditated, they were very focused and quiet.
Mm.
I remember trying to think of different things to do at that time. So, my favorite thing to do with the class after we did I became very refined as years went on. But at that time was we did penmanship because the children were so quiet and they wanted to do something, but they kind of weren't ready to move and talk. I could have read to them, but instead, I just that class had the best penmanship.
Oh my gosh, I love this. Oh my gosh, and my day job is as an occupational therapist. So I've for over 20 years I've been working with children on their handwriting and penmanship. So I love that. So any of my OT friends out there, do a little meditation and then a little handwriting practice. Ooh, I love it. Go on,
Yes,
Shelley.
because if you just close your eyes, the children just close their eyes for with children, when they do the 30 seconds, minute, you're really happy. We got up to almost 10 minutes with the
Mm,
grade 2 class, but that took a year. But it's never about the length of time, it's about the focus. It's
mm,
about aligning yourself. And that's when the magic happens. Because that's when we call the knower. It's that inner you. You're not connecting with anything other than that inside you. So when the children did that, or when I did that, that's where you're getting to the source of your energy, the source of your power. And it's kind of like, you keep dipping cloth in dye, and the more
mm,
you dip it, the more color it has. So as you're dipping your mind in the color of your knower space, which is it's your own delight, it's your own love, it's your own immortality, your mind is being colored and dipped in that. And so it will shine through. And meditation's a kind of process where it builds on itself. So even if you do just a little bit, and then you can have your activity, and then whenever you need to, again, you just close your eyes. One of your guests, oh, I laughed so hard because I've seen this before, said um, about going into the bathroom.
yes. yeah. Yes.
It's fabulous. If you can't find the time, nobody's going to disturb you there. Just go in the bathroom and close the door for a few moments.
I know there are lots of moms who have 100% do that. I'll be out in a minute. Seriously. Don't come in. I love it.
Yeah. And I think you're never too young, you're never too old
Mm,
to meditate. And the kind of meditation that I do is the connection to your own self. So you're never connecting to something that's outside. You're always connecting to your essential nature. And everybody knows what that is, but it's finding the difference between what is your mind, how is your mind leading you, and how is your self leading you.
mm-hmm.
And that's what happens in knower meditation when you make that distinction. And the distinction is that anything that comes and goes and changes, that is your mind. And anything that never changes, the unchanging, that is yourself. So, for example, if you take a picture of yourself when you were, 3, 4 years old, and you look at it, and you know that that's you. You know that it's not your neighbor, it's not your cousin, it's not a brother or sister. It's you know that that is you. There's no doubt. But what knows that? Because when you look at that picture, there's nothing about you that's the same. You're not the same height. Your hair may be different. Your teeth may be different. Your thinking is certainly different. All the sort of cells in your body have changed. Everything about you is different. But what is it that knows that that's you and throughout that was always you? That's the part of you that is eternal. And that never changes. It's you say that it never dies because that part of you was never born. It
Mm.
always was. And when you connect to that, that's your power. And
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, Shelley, that is like, I've never heard it explained that way. And that's such a beautiful way to look at it. The unchanging versus your mind changing, and that visual of, looking at a picture of yourself and it's you. Oh, I love that. I think that's going to be really powerful for a lot of people in understanding, the behind the scenes piece of meditation and who you're actually connecting with, that self. It's not
yes.
up here.
It's
It's
not out here. It's not out
it's
there.
essence. Yeah.
It, it's you and it's only you.
Wow. Wow. Oh my gosh. We could just sit on that and say, okay, so next time in class, Shelley will teach you more. But that is just so gorgeous. I love that.
And when you connect like that, then you use that power to navigate through your world.
Yes.
Because the mind is like a camera, it's a
Mm.
mechanism. And the mind will see with its own lens, and every camera has its own lens and sees in its own way. But the thing about the camera is it can't see beyond itself. The camera can't see the photographer. So
Mm.
the one who's taking the picture is the one who's moving the camera. But if if the mind is the camera, then the one who's taking the picture, the one who's focusing behind, that's you. That's the self, that's the knower. And if
Mm.
you kind of let the mind, which is always influenced by the senses and everything outside, if you let the mind do its own thing, it's going to take you to here and here and here, whatever you see, it will take you there. But if you keep connecting to the one behind the camera, to your own self, to your own knower, then the focus is there and you make your own decision. It's your own self making your own decision using the mind.
Mm. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Okay. Wow, number two. That also, I love the way that you're describing things because I think it makes it so much more clear for people
Yeah,
that so your mind is like a camera, but you're behind the camera. But the camera doesn't know all that you know. It's just a tool.
exactly.
Ugh.
And you use the tool, but it's you using it. And how you know that the mind is the mechanism is because it's always changing.
Mhm.
But the
Mhm.
one that's watching is witnessing it, and the witness is the self, is the knower.
Mm. Yeah, kind of like I love Eckhart Tolle, and he talks about the watcher. So the
It's the
observer. Yeah, same
exactly.
thing.
It's
Mhm.
another name
Yeah.
for knower, watcher, observer. In Sanskrit, it's called Atma, Brahma. It has many, many, many names. Turiya. So I chose my teacher used the word knower because he said it's the one that knows, and it
Mm,
always knows.
mm.
It never doesn't know, because even if you think you know that.
You know you don't know. Oh my gosh.
You can hook into that very easily. I always found with children that they connect with that really easily, but they keep forgetting it because they're still developing.
Yeah.
Adults take a little longer to connect like that, but then they hold it.
Hmm.
So everybody has to practice at least a little bit.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, and I imagine for some adults too, like it's so easy to get distracted by your mind. Like you said, it will take you in many different tangents away
Yes.
from the self. So tell me a little bit about, so how do you calm the mind? How does the mind play into meditation in your experience?
Um, for meditation, there are so many techniques, and what I love about knower meditation is that it's you can use it with any technique. If you if you're doing pranayama, like breath exercises, as you're because the thing about breath, the pran, that is connected to the movement of the mind.
Mm,
So when you get excited, the your mind also is getting excited, and it works in both directions. So as you regulate the breath, you start to regulate the mind. But to add the knower meditation to it is, who is watching the breath?
mm,
You pull back one more time. If you're doing, if you're doing mantra meditation and you start repeating a mantra, and that I always found repeating a mantra um, really helped me when I need to study and focus. When I went to graduate school, I did mantra meditation all the time because I
mm-hmm,
felt that breath kind of really helped me more with like anxiety or emotions.
mm-hmm,
But when I needed to focus, I found that any repeating a mantra really sharpened my intellect.
mm,
And but if you take it one step back and you watch that, you become one with the repetition of the mantra. You it's as if you're the repeater and you're hearing it and saying it. You're the sound. You become the whole of it. And that's that one step back that knower meditation does, because it's you. So it's there for everything you do.
mm, mm-hmm.
So any kind of meditation that you do, or any kind of activity that you do, when you take that one step back, all of a sudden your vision gets broader.
Mm-hmm.
I remember there was he was an eye surgeon who had come to visit here in our satsang many years ago, and he was saying that he was in the middle of an eye surgery, and apparently when you're doing surgery, everything's very predictable. Like you know exactly what you're doing. And he said that he came across something where he 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 got stumped, like something happened. And he said that there he was in the operating theater, and he just said, "Everybody stop." And he said he closed his eyes and he pulled back and he saw what needed to be done.
Mm.
And then he proceeded.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So that stayed with me for really till now.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
yeah. So the thing about the knower is it's just you. And if you let it have access to your tools, your vision gets broader because the nature of who you are is actually joy and delight, and it's always for your own well-being.
Mm.
And you just have to know that if your mind says go left and you went left, just think it doesn't matter if you need to go right or up or down, just change it.
Mm-hmm.
Minds change.
Yes.
So don't be surprised when they do. Don't think, oh, I always have to be like this. You don't. You weren't like that when you were 3 or 6 or a teenager or now. Just keep going after your own well-being. And
Yeah.
that's success. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you on that for sure. And I think that's very liberating, the idea of looking at the mind as something that changes. And so you're never, sometimes we have this perception that we're stuck, that like
Yeah.
we can't get ourselves out of a certain state or choice or place. But if we pull back and focus on the well-being, the direction will come.
Yes. Because somebody will say to you, well, 10 years ago, you said it like this, and then you get new information and it's not like this at all.
Mhm. Mhm.
And the mind changes because it's always going to adjust itself according to the new input. And the new input it's all changing. So
Mhm.
naturally the mind will change, but what doesn't change is you. And you
Mhm.
just stay aligned with you and you're always good.
Yeah. I love it. It makes me think about, I'm a huge science nerd, love studying the brain and that part of the brain called the reticular activating system, and how we can kind of get into this training looking for things that make us miserable, things that make us upset. Oh, there it is again, that happened again. And then we can retrain the brain, refocus the brain on what we want to see, and it was always there. It's just our lens wasn't focused that way. And so we can actually change the function of our brain to notice our blessings, to notice our joy, to see all the things that we have and we can be grateful for, versus those things that are not happening in the way that we anticipated or wanted them to.
Yeah,
Or those things that happen, we start to see the underlying blessing that exists, and that nothing is ever really all good or all bad. Everything just is.
exactly. Because you have your aims and ambitions, and but whatever comes before you, if you can make that good, and because you're always good, it's never about what's outside.
Mm-hmm.
It's never about that because that will change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if it changes, you have to know its nature. It's going to change. If it's good today, maybe tomorrow it'll be not so good. And if it's not
Yeah.
so good the next day, it'll be good. But where you're always perfect is in as the observer, as the watcher. You're always perfect
Mm-hmm.
because you're perfect when the sun comes out and you're perfect when the snow comes out. And
Mm-hmm.
there's it's what's happening inside of you. And that reflects your whole outside.
Yes. I love
Yeah.
that. And the thing that I find is so beautiful about meditation is that it's always accessible to you. It
Yeah.
doesn't require you to be someplace specific. Maybe at some point in time, that was kind of how we saw it, like, oh, we're going to go and there's going to be a guru who's going to tell us what to do. And we can't do this unless we have that guru, and that's not really the way anymore. The way is
Well,
it's you.
the the word guru and the way that it's used now, the word guru is gu and ru. It's 2 words. One is darkness or ignorance, and the other is dispeller.
Mm,
the one that gives freedom from the darkness.
mm,
And it's been personified to be a person, but your guru is you. Like you bring
mm.
light. You bring the light into your own, it's coming from your own self. It is your own self. And you just bring that light inside, or you
Yeah.
connect to it. Yeah.
So it's like the kind of traditional sense of like a guru is knowing the way. That's not really what they ever intended to be. It was more, I'm going to show you how I'm shining my light and you can do the
Yes.
same thing.
Yes.
It's
It's
teaching.
directing, exactly. It's directing your attention in yourself, because it's the mind that's coming and going and changing. It's eclipsing the self, the knower, which is like the sun. And the mind is eclipsing it because it's got everything out there. It's got its senses, it's dragging your attention. And the knower will never change. It's fine. It's fine if you do it like this. It's fine if you're happy. It's fine if you're not. But if you want to be happy, if you want to live that state of joy, then the enlightenment is that light shining on the tool of the mind, which then makes your whole being shine.
Mm, I love it.
Yeah. I love talking to you.
Oh my gosh, same. This is beautiful conversation and I there's so much freedom in what you're talking about
Yeah.
and allowing oneself to be, not it's not a state that we're trying to get to. We're not trying to
Right.
achieve something. It's we are already.
Yes.
It's tuning in.
Exactly. You're kind of like cleaning off the little smudge of dirt on your lenses
Mm. Mhm.
because you're already shining inside.
Mm. Oh,
Yeah.
that's going to make a lot of people feel really good. You
Yeah.
know,
Already
we
perfect.
you're already perfect. You're already there. And I like how you shared kind of the analogy of the cloth dipping into dye and becoming like a deeper saturation over time.
Yeah.
So what does that look like for you now? Like what does meditation feel like for you?
Um, I'm always keeping myself centered.
Mm-hmm.
Like life has its challenges, and certainly these last 2 years have been challenging.
Mm-hmm.
And and somewhere just closing my eyes and seeing the blessing of it. Because to be honest, these 2 years have been actually amazing. I don't think I would have had the opportunity to meet and connect with people like yourself from all over the world,
Mm-hmm.
and and have very um, important conversations. I don't think
Yeah.
that would have ever happened. I would have
Yeah.
just We would have just been with our local neighbors and seeing in person, and that's also wonderful. But
Mm-hmm.
when I saw this opportunity, because here we are, and we're all watching the screen or just listening, and it's it's one voice and one hearing, and you connect to that singularity that we all are,
Mm-hmm.
and that is absolutely amazing,
Mm-hmm.
because we are all that. The thing is, we need to tune into it, and
Yeah.
we forget, and that's fine.
That's okay too.
Oh, you put a band-aid on, you keep on going. But I found that the more I meditated, the the quicker my recovery is.
Mm-hmm.
You fall down, you feel anxious, you feel like this, you feel like that, and then you close your eyes, and in no time it's like, oh, right. That's who I am.
Yeah. Yeah. It's life changing. It really is. And, I'm like a couple years into my meditation journey, and I really found that offering myself meditation, stillness in the beginning of the day, and tuning into myself, hearing my own inner wisdom and what was moving me forward in my life before I ever talked to anybody else, got on social media, started my work day, it really transformed so much outside of just that time that I was spending. It
Mhm.
really shifted, like you said, like to use the analogy of the camera, it really shifted my lens. And I became much more of a, capturing those moments with my mind, with my camera that I
Yes,
wanted to capture, and having more control rather than the camera kind of existing on its own.
exactly. And sometimes, camera drops, you pick it up. Does you just keep going. I love that analogy you were making, that way you were speaking, because that's what it is.
Yeah.
Because
It's,
who we are is that well-being, that joy, that delight. That's who we
yeah.
really are. And we express it through our mind, our body, our all the gifts that we have. Those are our gifts of expression. And if we could use it for shining the light to each other as
Mm-hmm.
if we're different beings, but connecting with that oneness that we are, that's when it really grows and grows.
Yeah.
And that's when the differences become the delight
Mm-hmm.
rather than, oh, you're like this, you're like this. I mean, it's like, oh, you're like this and you're like, it's exciting.
It is exciting. I'm with you on that. And that it's so funny that you say that, because that's kind of become my little, my little mission, my subtle mission, or maybe not so subtle sometimes, is, it took me a long time to embody the courage of being who I was and saying, this is who I am. This is what I want to embody. This is what I want to do. I want to blend mysticism and science, and I want to talk to people about it with like huge levels of curiosity, that that geeking out on things, like that is who I am, that like very highly curious person, and I want to know. And I what I love about it is I feel the same way that you do, that it became less about observing differences and making like these boxes of you fit here, you fit here, and more of like, oh, I'm so excited, tell me more about how you're different from me and what you're doing, and shining a light on the things that make us unique. And I'm finding myself so magnetized to people who are living their own truth very vibrantly. And I think that that's what gets me really excited, because when people start living their vibrant truth, we start to really see these bright lights shining, and it's
Yeah.
permission, like you say, like you become a guru, you become this light for yourself, but your expression of that is inspiring other people.
Yes, yes. And that and in that way, when how when somebody starts to laugh and everybody, sometimes you walk into a room, people are laughing and you don't even know why you start
Right.
laughing. Like you missed the joke. But that's certainly better than walking into the room where everybody's crying. Like
Yeah,
I
I'm
want
good at that too.
to laugh in the room.
I
And
can join in. I call myself a reflexive crier. I never knew that was because I have empathic tendencies, but like I'd be watching TV and my husband would be like, "Why are you crying?" I'm like, "I just do that. I do that. It's like but I'm as capable of, like you said, walking into a room. If there's joy being had, I'm jumping in. Like, yes, let's do this."
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And I really appreciate your podcast because you're giving expression to so many interesting, amazing people who have so much to offer.
Yeah.
And you're allowing that that to go out to the whole world. And that is amazing because I've been enjoying your podcasts so much. I don't know if I've missed any.
Oh my gosh. Thank you,
Yeah.
Shelley.
So it's who you are that's also attracting that level of person, and allowing people to just feel really easy and comfortable to just say it.
Yeah. Yes. And I love that. I love that people existing in their truth and their beautiful selves. We all have so much to contribute and offer. And you know, it's funny because I've been an occupational therapist for like 20 years, and I've always seen the unique nature of anyone I've worked with. The children that I work with, you know, I see their unique nature. And it's not, and it doesn't have to be about these things that they can and can't do, but about who they are. They're nowhere, they're being. And that's who I talk to and I interact with, and it makes for such a special bond with the kids I'm privileged to work with. And I take that to these moments too. I want people to feel seen and heard,
Yeah.
and it's important to me. And that is definitely part of, you know, why I want to do this. I want people like yourself to have visibility, to have people, because I know even in the smallest, you know, bit of knowledge that you're sharing, it's kicking something off in people that will change their lives. And we never know who that one person is that we're going to touch. And to give that kind of, you know, not permission, but just like ignition. You're igniting something. Ah, here we go. Now I know what I need to do next to be more tuned in to myself.
Exactly. You know, just when you were talking, I just remembered this instance. There now, I heard this as a story where, I don't know if you remember, there were these mannequins, and they were long, tall mannequins that kind of were a bit disproportional. And I heard that the person who was making those mannequins had a myopia. They and that's how they saw.
Mm.
So when you think of it, everybody is seeing with their own lens. And if you just let them see and express in their own way,
Yeah.
you know, those funny mirrors that we see in those amusement parks, and
Mhm.
everybody sees differently. And it's all okay,
Yeah.
because who's doing the seeing?
It's the knower.
It's the knower. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that will always, always, always guide you, because it is your own well being.
Oh my gosh, I love it. So I would love for you to give everyone a beautiful, like, step one practical tip and tool. I know you've been in a couple of Brave Healer Productions books. You were in the first volume of the Ultimate Guide to Self Healing with Laura DeFranco, and also in this book you see behind me, Sacred Death with Himalayas. So tell us a tool, a tip, something that will give people a start. If they've never done meditation before, where are they starting?
Okay. I on my website for children, I have 30-second meditations.
Perfect.
I have a little character that comes on, and it's like, close your eyes, put a smile on your face, and then either breathe in and pause, breathe out and pause, breathe in, pause, and know that the one who is breathing and watching is your own self, the
Hmm.
knower of who you are.
Oh my
And
gosh. That it's perfect. And I love that you said that they're 30 seconds, they're meant for children. So any of us, of children of all ages, can access and start.
Yeah, grown up children too.
Yes, I love that. I love that because sometimes that's kind of, if we have a monkey mind, that's kind of where we need to start. That works for us.
Yeah, yeah. And sometimes that's all you need.
Yeah.
Sometimes because you want to connect. And that's
Mm-hmm.
where the light is shining.
Mm-hmm. I love this. Shelley, I have loved this time with you. We could probably go on for a long time, but we'll say this is part one of Shelley Astrof and the Knower meditation, and we'll have to sign up a time for you to come back. And I definitely want to delve into using meditation with children and some tips for parents and educators. I think that's fantastic. You know, our educational system is just so overburdened right now with everything going on, and everybody could use some extra positive tools to put in their toolbox. So we'll definitely set that up with you. But I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'm so thrilled to know you and to have you in my circle of friends and community. And I just applaud everything you're doing to just make the world a better place. And if we can do just a little bit every day, we're doing some amazing work.
Thank you so much, Kelly, for this opportunity and for the amazingness that you are.
Oh,
So
thank
much.
you. I'm taking that in, Shelley. Thank you so much. So, you've been listening to the Mystic Nerd Squad podcast, and we wish you a wonderful weekend. Take care, everybody. Bye bye.